Well, check it out. There comes the bell. Ready? Ready? Here it comes. And wait for it, folks. Do it. Where's it? Yeah, press a button, dude. There you go. Mr. Rockefeller, asset manager, better hurry up. Markets just closed, folks. Okay, take a look at the numbers. A better day on Wall Street today. Up, it says, hold on, let me see, 419 points right now. Looks like Dow's up 419, S&P up almost 88 points. NASDAQ was the big winner, up 407, 2.5%. And that was on the heels of Tesla last night reporting earnings. Disappointing earnings, believe it or not. Sales were down 20%. Revenues were down. They were $2 billion below what the street was expecting. And yet Tesla jumped because overnight, just after the earnings call, Elon Musk got on the call to the major investors. And if you own a stock, you can listen in. And he said that he was going to eventually get back to Tesla and obviously SpaceX and the other Neuralink and his other companies, leaving Doge at some point, which is very interesting because apparently there was an argument, I believe today, maybe yesterday. Axios is reporting there was a big argument in the hallway of the White House between Elon Musk and Scott Bessent. A very interesting comment. We're going to ask Harrison Fields, who's coming on the show in just a minute. He's a deputy advisor to the president. We'll ask him about that, among other things as well. So markets a little bit better today, strong market yesterday as well. Also, a couple other things very quickly. Trump this morning early said that he was not necessarily going to hold China to that 145% tariff that's been slapped on him right now. It was going to come down substantially. When asked how low and when, he says, I don't know, but he also said it's not going to be zero. He also said that he was not looking to fire Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman. And the markets this morning reacted positively, up at 1,000, 1,200 points at one point, because the markets like stability. They like to know what's going on, and they hate tariffs. I've been talking about this a long time. They hate tariffs. So bringing the China tariffs down is and was a good thing and will be going forward. I just trying to figure out a way for them, the White House, to get out of it. And my guess is, and I'm going to be right on this, Howard Lutnick is the reason for those tariffs. Howard Lutnick is the reason why $5 trillion have left these markets. And eventually, the enamorment with Howard Lutnick will wear off. And I believe the Trump administration, whether it's Donald Trump or someone else, will escort Howard Lutnick out of the building. And that can't happen soon enough for me. All right. Do we have Brian Glenn, our chief White House correspondent? Brian, really good to have you, my friend. So much going on. A couple of quick stories. By the way, you look great. Look, you know, it's spring is in the air, I guess. Trump and Zelensky. Tell us what's going on. Is this little munchkin going to try and back out, weasel out of another deal?
I think he is, and I was looking at some of the news this morning. Al Jazeera actually reported that Ukraine and Zelensky's team had kind of officially declined that final offer that Trump put forward. You know, and Marco Rubio said this, Eric, last week, that, you know, it's time. We're either going to make a deal or the U.S. is going to move on. Like, we're no longer going to be in the middle of this for the next, 6 months to a year. We need to end the fighting. We need to make sure there's peace on both sides. And, of course, it looks like, and of course, the Easter truce that was supposed to happen, apparently, according to each one of the leaders, did not take place. So it reminds me of two kids in the back seat of a family road trip, touching each other, poking each other, and the other one's complaining about the other one. I say stop the car, open the doors, get them out. Game over. We're tired of being the guy in the middle trying to bring peace. And if these countries don't want it, if they want to go to an extended truce, if you will, without an official deal, then let them do it. But I think the American people, the president, this administration has other things to focus on, but rather than being in the middle of this long conflict that I kind of feel like won't ever end.
Yeah, I agree with you. And in fact, Trump posted on Truth Social, I'm quoting here, the statement made by Zelensky today will do nothing but prolong the killing field. And nobody wants that. We're very close to a deal, but the man with no cards to play should now finally get it done. I look forward to being able to help Ukraine and Russia get out of this complete and total mess that would have never started if I were president. And, you know, for those naysayers on the left saying, well, Trump promised 24 hours he would end the war. You know what, BS to that, because this Zelensky guy, and Trump wasn't president at the time. He wasn't president when this thing started. He wasn't negotiating with Putin and Zelensky leading into it. He takes over, and all of a sudden Zelensky says, I'm this, but he's not. He's effing around, and now Zelensky's finding out. So Trump will get it done. You're right, Brian. You got to get Zelensky to wake the heck up.
Yeah, and you imagine if he would have had any phone calls with Putin before he took office. That's, of course, something that we don't want to get into with the whole Russia, and rehash that. So he had to wait till he is officially in office to start those talks. And, of course, we've seen the talks get kicked down the road several times, change locations for these talks. I actually think, in a way, Putin doesn't want to end the war, and I don't think Zelensky wants to either. And I'm going to get on my personal soapbox here. I think he's gotten too used to this conveyor belt of U.S. taxpayer dollars going into his country. I've had reports outside the White House. I've walked outside these gates, Eric, had people from Ukraine come up to me and say, you've got to stop this because it's so corrupt. The money is going all over the government. The amount of wealth now that's been pumped into Ukraine is like no other. So yeah. I don't know if we want to believe the news that's in that room or the people that are actually from Ukraine telling me that. But at the end of the day, I think we want to stop the bloodshed, stop this war. But if both sides aren't willing to sit down and and have this final offer, then you know what? We've got bigger fish to fry, protecting this country, protecting our borders, and getting this economy back in gear.
You know, the dirty little secret that maybe folks don't realize is that for years before this war started, Ukraine was the money laundering capital of certainly of Europe, certainly of Eastern Europe, and likely maybe even the world. And it was that corrupt. And now all of a sudden, the guy who led that charge the whole time is now going to be, I don't know, fiduciary with our $180 billion, highly unlikely. Brian, one of the other stories I want to talk about, let's skip this one, guys. I want to go to we have a picture of the Pope lying in, not in state, but in the Vatican. And the interesting thing about this is that Trump has said he's going to the Vatican, which aligns nicely with Trump's decision not to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You can weigh in on that. But what I'm hearing, and you can weigh in on this, I think this is fascinating, that world leaders are so interested in getting a minute with Donald Trump, the leader of the free world. They're so interested in that. Our lights are playing around. That they are going to the funeral of the Pope just so they can bump into Donald Trump and maybe catch his ear for a couple of minutes.
Did we see that at the cathedral months ago when he went to the reopening of the cathedral? We saw some of that. We saw these world leaders just about jumping over church pews to get next to him to have a few minutes with them. You know, it's an interesting talking point there, Eric, and I can see where that could happen. Now, the president will be leaving here. I don't know if this is public knowledge or not, but I'll go ahead and tell you. He's leaving here Friday sometime in the morning, going to fly out to the Vatican, to Rome, attend that funeral on Saturday, and then make his way back over here. So they don't have a whole lot of time to get with them. If he's going to be on the ground for a short amount of time. But who thought you would use a funeral to get a few social minutes with somebody? That's a new one. I've heard of wedding crashers. Perhaps this is a funeral crashers.
Well, you know, Brian,
you cut a deal with President Trump.
you're the perfect person to answer this, but you see. You know, it's kind of published. You know, we're on these lists that tell us when Trump is, every movement he makes. If he's at Mar-a-Lago, he's going to the golf course. If he's going golf course back to Mar-a-Lago, or even in D.C., and there'll be crowds that get wind of this, and they'll line up just for a peek at Trump, and just to see if he can wave to him. I used to go to Trump when he was president. I used to go to Trump, the hotel in D.C., and if you knew Trump was going to have dinner at the steakhouse in the lobby, the crowds would line up. They have velvet ropes. He had to stay behind, and just so he'd walk by and wave, and the place would go crazy. So, yeah, why not? If you're a world leader, he's going to be at the Vatican. Maybe I can get a few minutes with him. Why not?
Yeah, get a few minutes with him. Why not? I mean, they line up outside of Mar-a-Lago down the Southern Boulevard there. You've seen that in West Palm. I mean, just outside the gates here. I saw him leave the other day to go to a dinner. Pulls out of the gates. I waved at him. I don't know if he saw me or not, but so it doesn't surprise me.
Brian, I got to cut you off. He saw you.
Check out this.
He saw you. He knows you. You're a very hot commodity. The the leader of the free world seeks you out in the Oval Office, it's a very great place for you, but also a great place for Rav as our lights go.
It's honestly,
yeah.
I honestly have to pinch myself every once in a while that the man that's in that building behind me, the White House, the most powerful man in the world, has a great relationship with me and this network, and I appreciate that, and we want to make sure that we are there to help the president get his agenda accomplished. Now, I did some interviews with the New Yorker magazine, CNN, and some others, and they were very surprised, Eric, when I said that we are a pro-Trump network, and my job is to make sure that the agenda gets played out for the American people. That's what for far too long that the media here has been against his agenda, and so I'm just proud to be here and be able to do that, Eric. I'm very humbled to be a part of this team.
I will tell you, you're part of an elite crowd right now, because I just read an article. It was it Politico? So one of the major Trump hating websites talking about the new media and the new crowd in town, and it's Rav and it's Turning Point. It named a couple people, named you specifically, and how the traditional media is souring. And I think Natalie Winters was featured a bunch of quotes in that. I think she had a great comment, and she said, when you look at the new media and how they look at us, Fox, CBS, NBC, they look at you guys with disdain, but they're really looking themselves in the mirror at themselves aging. And that was really a wonderful comment. I just want to give you kudos. You don't have to weigh in on that. But what I'd like to do is, you took some video today. Can we roll that? Can we show the video that Brian took today? Now, Brian, tell us about this. We're rolling it.
Okay, when we walked out of the, okay, go ahead. I'm going to listen to it. Let it play, because there's some sound on that, if you have the sound.
We don't have the sound, Brian, so you let us know. Maybe you don't have the sound. So it's the White House lawn. Go ahead.
So the White House lawn, President Trump walks out unannounced to anyone. We just saw Secret Service people gathering. He was walking with his team, the grounds crew here, looking for the perfect spot to put that new flagpole, that big, beautiful flagpole with the American flag in the front lawn. There's going to be another one on the south lawn as well. And of course, the media here absolutely was loving him being out here. I mean, I'm used to seeing birds, squirrels, but now I can add President Trump to the front lawn here at the White House. And then he did a quick little gaggle. We all ran down Pebble Beach here. We ran down by the Palm Doors, and he just spent, I don't know, maybe 2-3 minutes answering a few questions. But that was a pleasant surprise today. That's the first time I've seen him walk out here in front of the White House.
I'll tell you what, the final thought on this is, I've interviewed President Trump. I've interviewed Trump 20, 30 times, President Trump 8 or 9 times when he was president the first time. And he's the best TV producer on the planet. He looks at the angles of the cameras and whatnot. And what struck me is some of the video you sent is he's got his arms wide and he's saying, here's where he is producing the shot for the American flag that's going to go on the White House lawn. And we got to pay the lighting bill or something, because these lights keep up going on. They're back on. Brian, really good having you, my friend. Appreciate it. That's a great video. Great video. We'll talk to you again. Yes, sir. Talk to you again soon, pal.
Thank you, Eric.
Keep up the great work.
Yeah. You got it.
All right, before we head to break, I just wanted to remind you all about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. You can hear the show and tons of other content anytime, anywhere. Be sure to subscribe. You must subscribe. It's free. Just hit subscribe. And guess what, folks? Coming up later in the show, we're going to talk to Special Assistant to the President and Principal Deputy Press Secretary Harrison Fields. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. That looks beautiful. Like Tahoe, Nevada. Never been there, but spent my share of time in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak with the doctor who's called America's psychiatrist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. She joined us to discuss the passing of the Pope and said that it was not Vice President J.D. Vance's fault, like we had to say that, but this is a fascinating interview. Watch. Incredible that we have to clarify that some folks out there are trying to blame J.D. Vance because he was the last foreign dignitary, certainly to spend some time with the Pope before he passed. Talk to us about that.
Yes, there are some amazing memes, really kind of cruel, blaming blaming J.D. Vance for the Pope's passing. Now, the Pope, in my opinion, the Pope passed because first of all, he had been very sick. He was sick with respiratory problems, and he passed ultimately because of a stroke. But the reason why I think that the Pope knew that his end was near, first of all, and so he became particularly active against doctors' advice after he was released from the hospital, doing all kinds of things, including, as you're showing here, giving a blessing at Easter and so on. And even further, he went down into the crowds at Easter, in a carriage, open carriage, risking infection, risking, just the stress of it, being carried around in a carriage through all these crowds. But I think that he was trying to do God's work, as much of God's work as possible, for as much time as he had left. Now, it's interesting, though. You know how people, when they often, like if they're in the hospital and they're not they're sort of in a terminal state, they will hold on until a relative comes. It's always kind of amazing. They hold on until something special. Like you could say he held on until Easter, or you could say he held on until J.D. Vance came and greeted him. So it is ridiculous, and it's dangerous to start blaming politicians for people's death. It's weaponizing grief, and it can become a dangerous trend.
Weaponizing grief, interesting. So what Carol's referring to, folks, is that there are memes out there. Horrible people are saying, "Oh, J.D. Vance is the Antichrist because he met the Pope and the Pope died." It's just absolutely insane. Here's the question, though. Democrats seem to be, and I don't know which side of the aisle you fall on, doesn't matter, put your doctor hat on. Democrats seem to use these, to weaponize events more than Republicans, more than conservatives. And I will just tell you, as we speak right now, there's a group of Democrats who are liberals who are destroying a Tesla dealership in New York City. So does this fall on political lines, one way harder on one side than the other?
Well, first of all, yes, I can be a psychiatrist, but I'm also a Trumper all the way. So, in fact, I'm weaponizing. I'm writing a diagnostic description for Trump derangement syndrome. But anyway, getting back to your question.
Well, to be honest with you, that was my follow-up question. I wanted to know if Trump derangement syndrome is real and if we can diagnose it and how to treat it. But go ahead. Sorry I interrupted.
Sure. No, it's okay. Yes, it is very real. I mean, just what you said, they look for things. I mean, the point is that the leftist Democrats are particularly angry and particularly on the lookout for anything that they can use and twist in the opposite direction to blame Trump or blame Republicans. And so, so this really fell into such a with J.D. Vance visiting the Pope and the Pope dying right afterwards was like perfect for them to use to say that, how bad Trump. Trump derangement syndrome isn't just about, I define it as an irrational, quasi-psychotic hatred of anything Trump, resulting in rage and over-the-top efforts to destroy him and his work. But that also goes for his friends, his people he put in various positions. So, we have Elon Musk and the Teslas, and we have now J.D. Vance.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that the Democrats of the other side, the people with Trump derangement syndrome, it almost doesn't matter the issue. Some things are 50-50. Other things are 90-10. And I will submit that deporting an MS-13 member whose wife wanted him thrown in jail, who came here illegally, would be a 90-10. I think 90% of the population would not want to live next to that criminal or that thing. Yet the Democrats are taking their side. They're flying to El Salvador to try and bring that guy back to the country against all rationale thinking and all logic. Is that part of Trump derangement?
Yes, the quasi-psychotic hatred. Yes, I mean, and being photographed, having drinks that look like alcohol. I mean, people. I don't know. People have, in so many different ways, people have just lost their common sense, and are outrageous. I mean, look at this isn't exactly Trump derangement syndrome, although he probably has it too. But Putin, who just took the Taliban off the terrorist list. I mean, you just have to scratch your head and say, what are these people thinking? So, yes, it is very bad. And I kind of feel bad for J.D. Vance because, first of all, he's still kind of new to all of this. And he converted as an adult to Catholicism. So clearly this must be very painful for him.
Yeah. How is Trump handling? So he gets this mandate. He gets the American people behind him. He gets the majority of a popular vote, which is very unusual for a Republican to do. You can still win the presidency without the majority of the popular vote based on electoral college. So he gets the electoral college. He gets the swing states. He gets the majority of the popular opinion. He's got this massive mandate. But with this power comes responsibility as a psychiatrist. Is he managing that power effectively? Well, so far, it seems like he is. But it's like every day there's something new against him. You kind of wonder just how much strength does he have to keep on going? But I think he has a lot. I'm not really worried about it yet. I mean, the strength of the mettle of the man for him was revealed in Butler, Pennsylvania, when he got up after not knowing whether he was critically injured or not, and he went fight, and because he wasn't talking. He was trying to tell the American. He wasn't thinking of himself. He was trying to tell the American people, even if I'm gone, if I die, you keep fighting for America. And so that just says it all. But it is very unfortunate that there are so many, whether it's the immigration or the trying to get rid of the protesters in schools, which is something that has to be gotten rid of ASAP. All of these things that he's doing that the people voted him in to do. He's just getting pushback, and he's not going to give up. I mean, that's his strength. When they push him, that fuels his power, his fight. And I will tell you something. For those, I've known Trump for 40 years. People say, they all say they do. I really have legitimately known him 40 years. And I know one of the knocks was he wasn't always as conservative. He wasn't always MAGA. He wasn't always about America. When Butler, Pennsylvania happened, there's nothing you can be taught or told to react that way. It was instinctual. It came from a place inside him. So all those people who say he's just doing it for the power, the love of power and the control, BS, because that man cared to stand up with snipers, could have been multiple, he didn't know, and he pushed Secret Service away and said, fight, because he truly believed he was best for the country. Carol, I got to go. Appreciate you having you, and we'll bring you back again sometime soon. Carol, Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you.
You're welcome.
Folks, we'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Beautiful day in Washington, D.C., but let's find out because, the border has certainly been better since President Trump took office. Let's say better. I'll say amazingly better. There's been a 95% decrease in border crossings from 2024 and a 97% decrease from 2022. Here to talk about this and why Democrats would be dumb enough to run to El Salvador to try and bring back an MS-13 gangbanger as special assistant to the president and principal deputy press secretary Harrison Fields. Harrison, good to have you back, my friend. You guys are doing a great job. It blows me away that it almost feels like Trump is playing 3D chess with them. Like, let's do something so outrageous, and he knows they would take the other side of it. And by taking the other side of it, they look like clowns. Can you imagine a day and age where a U.S. senator goes to El Salvador to bring back a gangbanger who's accused of some nasty stuff? Harrison, what is your POV on this?
And then you also have a Democratic congresswoman that is committed to staying in El Salvador until he comes back. And my sole answer to her is stay as long as you want. The United States will not miss you one bit. But this is crazy. You have members of elected officials in this country that are no longer representing their constituents. They are representing a citizen of another country demanding that he be brought back to the United States. It's absolutely insane, and it begs the question, whose side are they on? You got the Trump administration and the Republican Party on the side of the American people who voted for these mass deportations, and then you have the Democratic Party that is trying to bring back an accused wife beater, not just once, but twice, an affiliate of MS-13, and just an illegal immigrant that should have never been in this country to begin with. It's absolutely insane that we're dealing with this right now.
It's accurate and amazing that if a U.S. Congresswoman decides to go there, that means they lose one vote. She can't vote from there, certainly can't vote from there. So they're, the majority, which was slim enough, becomes a little bit thicker for the Republicans. Great news, especially if you're trying to get some stuff passed. Stay all you want. And guess what? You too, Van Hollen, why don't you go back? You can't vote from there either. The media obviously leans far left, hard left. We've been talking about this little ditty, which is buried in the middle of this Abrego Garcia story. Abrego Garcia was pulled over a couple years ago, a traffic violation. The cop looked inside and said, "You're human trafficking." He gets arrested. He's supposed to appear in court. Number one, he didn't appear in court for that traffic violation. But number two, the guy who owned that vehicle, that Abrego Garcia was driving, there's a guy named Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes, went to jail for human trafficking. I mean, how many more strikes can this guy have?
If you look like a pig, you snort like a pig, and you smell like a pig, guess what? You're probably a pig. And the reality is his connections with bad hombres in the United States of America is further proof that he should not be in this country. I mean, when you look at that corridor in Tennessee, that is synonymous with drugs and human trafficking. You talk to anyone that lives in Tennessee, they know that highway is known for this type of behavior. And he was caught, didn't show up for court, like you mentioned, and he was hanging around some bad people. But he's also a wife beater, not just once, but twice. And his wife is now putting emojis over his knuckles to hide the fact that he has MS-13 tattoos on his knuckles. So this man should never be in here. It should have never been here in the first place. He is staying in El Salvador. The president of El Salvador says he's not going back to the United States, which has never been his home. And this is where things are. But you have Democratic judges who would rather trample on the Constitution in an attempt to bring back an illegal migrant. It's absolutely insane. Two
quick questions. Number one, I want to get back to the way they're doing this, the way the left and the illegals are doing this is through funding. And a lot of times it's funded through USAID, going to NGOs. Some of the NGOs, let's be honest, the Catholic Church is one of them. There are a couple other, hiding under religious flags that are being paid. And the use of those funds is to house these illegals. Is the administration thinking about closing some of those relationships between U.S. taxpayers, USAID, and these NGOs?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things that DOGE was able to accomplish, is cut off so much funding to USAID. It basically doesn't exist anymore because we understand how they funnel this money through the NGOs, through institutions like the USAID. We're also looking at the Institution of Peace, another organization that sounds great, but if you look at the work that they're doing, it's not so great. So yes, we are looking at all levers in which the Democrats are able to conduct their illegal immigration scam. People should not be profiting off of American taxpayer dollars to do things that are directly against the interests of President Trump's agenda. So we're looking at all things. Luckily, we have DOGE, and we have got a complete cabinet and government that is no longer in the business of funding institutions like these.
DOGE, you mentioned DOGE, and Elon Musk last night on the Tesla earnings call said that he was eventually going to step away from DOGE. I hate to. I'm a Tesla shareholder, so I love it for that reason. But I hate to see him leave DOGE with you. Is there any sort of time frame on that? And tell us about that.
Yeah, so I don't want to disappoint too many Democrats, but Elon Musk isn't going anywhere. He just said he's stepping back briefly. He's still going to be here more times than some people that come to work every single day. I mean, he puts in so many hours here at the White House. He's not leaving his perch here. He's still a special government employee, but he's also a billionaire that has a tremendous amount of work to do outside of the White House. So he's making sure he's giving the shareholders of Tesla and his companies the time and effort that they also also deserve while maintaining his government position here. So it's just a little bit more of a balance in Elon Musk's life. I mean, what billionaire is taking time out of his busy day or her busy day to come work in the West Wing of the White House every single day to make sure that this government is working on his behalf or on the behalf of the American people? So there's really no news here other than Elon Musk is probably balancing things a little bit more than he was before, but still very much an SGE, still very much a part of Doge and a senior advisor to the president.
Good. And that's warming to me. I've spent 15 years on Wall Street. I want to see government held accountable, government spending held accountable the way a corporate CEO would hold his company accountable. And Elon Musk is offering his skills to Trump and the American people, frankly, to teach them and us what he did with this very successful companies. There's some reportage just moments ago by Axios saying that Musk and Besson got into a yelling match in the hallway, and I've been in that hallway 100 times between the Oval Office, the press office. It gets heated in that hallway. I've been there with several different presidents, and that's the hallway where people cross, and sometimes if they have different views, and I'm guessing this was different views on tariffs, but anything you want to throw out there to clarify, and I will tell you, people are allowed to have disagreements. I'm going to clarify this with, this is not a gotcha or anything like that. I just love for you the opportunity to shed some light on that interchange if you have any.
Yeah, so the media doesn't have an opportunity to actually get at us with a policy or the results of what we're doing. So they're trying to find a weak point in trying to divide the administration, whether they're trying to divide Pete Hegseth or now with the Secretary Besson. It's absolutely ridiculous. Everyone is united. Elon Musk gets along with everyone here in the cabinet. The president is very happy with the results of Doge and the work of Elon Musk. Everyone is rowing in the same direction here. Axios, you have the Politico. They're looking for a divide when there is none. I can tell you, I walk the halls of the West Wing every single time. I've never seen any disputes. I've never seen anything like it. Everyone is just very cordial here, and we're all committed to the mission of President Trump. So another sensational headline and story by the media, because they have no actual bad news to report, which is a good thing because we're doing our job.
And you always know when they report these dramatic stories, these breaking stories, and they don't cite a source. They're always unnamed sources, and they won't never give a name. That usually there's an agenda behind it. All right, Harrison, I'll let you get back to your busy work week, and I will be there next week, and maybe I'll come by and say hello to you. We'll be there for the 100th day on Wednesday. Have a great day, and talk to you again soon. Thank you for your time. Harrison Fields, everybody.
Always a pleasure.
All right, we're going to head to break, but before we go, don't forget, make sure you subscribe to all things Bolling, YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify. You got to subscribe, folks. It's free. Never costs you a penny, but subscribe. We'll see you back in 2.5 minutes. Mad Diggity Dog, get on. Give me voice of God, Mad Diggity Dog.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you pronounce that city on the island
Oranjestad.
Oranjestad. Some Arubans are going to call and say, you idiots, Oranjestad. Anyway, all right. Well, welcome back. Let me get this straight for just a second.
Oligarchy or democracy, but we cannot have both. Los Angeles, I've made my choice. We must fight the oligarchy that has created this nightmare. And that is why I have never taken money from lobbyists or corporations, and it's why I never will.
Never taking money from lobbyists or corporations, you say, AOC. Got it. Fight the oligarchy, you say. Interesting. So then, question. Where does AOC, my dear, do you get the money to fly that massive private jet on your national Fight the Oligarchy circus tour? By the way, $77,000 for just 5 hours of travel. Think about that. 5 hours of travel, 77 grand. She only makes $174,000 a year before taxes. Sounds kind of steep to spend that kind of money. Did congressional salary pay that? Does it help cover the cost of that, AOC? I think not. So if it's not lobbyists or corporations, then who is it, Alexandria? Is it really maybe a good Hollywood friend? It's not Leonardo DiCaprio, is it? Because at the age of 35, you're about 10 years too old for him. Then who funded these private jets if it's not him? Does his name start with the G and end with a Soros and maybe a Orge in the middle? Does it start with an A and end with a Soros, as in Alex, his son? Or does it start with A? Well, you're a perpetual liar, and everyone knows it. Hey, I'm just here asking the questions of an elected official member of Congress who seems to be living quite the lavish lifestyle for someone who hates the oligarchy so much. Also, that's quite the carbon footprint, AOC. At least 5 private jets that we know about. So I guess no climate crisis going on there. Or is there magically less damage to the environment when you are trying to run for president?
When it comes to climate change, what is not realistic is not responding to the crisis not responding with a solution on the scale of the crisis. Because what's not realistic is Miami not existing in a few years.
It is going to be a disaster if we don't turn this ship around. And so it's basically like there's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And it does lead, I think, young people to have a legitimate question. You know, is it okay to still have children?
But
let's get out of this. This girl wants to be president. Oh, it's all going so bad. Is it all those private jets? Think about the children, AOC. AOC, what would Greta Thunberg say?
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
How dare you? Well, unless they figured out a way to use Trump derangement syndrome as jet fuel, I'm thinking Greta Thunberg is less than pleased about how little AOC cares about her future on the planet. But that's because, as usual, their hypocrisy knows no bounds. And yeah, we're going to get into it. As you know, it's funny. There are a lot of crying, whining, grown-ass adults out there in America right now because they finally have to pay off student loan debt that they've been deferred so far by the Democrats in order to buy their votes, of course, since around 2020, when Joe Biden became president, when the COVID-19 pandemic kicked off. And the socialists went on their tour of money grows on trees for 4 years under Joe Biden. Make it rain. There's a little sampling of snowflakes crying about having to actually pay for that degree in rug weaving in the 19th century. That it's useless actually now.
Right now is apparently the right time to start garnishing people's wages to retrieve this money.
my credit score just dropped 150 points. Yay, love that for me. And not only that, but I am now in debt to the U.S. Department of Education.
The solution's simple. We should not have our wages garnished. The boomers should have their goddamn retirement accounts and Social Security checks garnished for forcing college onto us, forcing us to take unsustainable loans. It's just screwed up.
Like, you are putting a person who is in a much different situation than you were when you were paying your student loans, who have their life compromised.
We were promised to go to college and get like these high-paying jobs, and none of us are getting hired, and now we have to pay back all this money. And
God, it forced us to go to college. You promised us jobs. Stop it. Maybe Daddy Green Bucks, Bernie Sanders, can help with some of the millions he's received from pharma companies, or maybe George Soros. AOC under fire, right? She should be under fire for high emissions private jets fighting the oligarchy tour. Maybe AOC can dip into some of that private jet money. I don't know, $77,000 must be more coming out of that money pot. Folks, one of them said they were promised high-paying jobs. Who did that? Who promised them that? Oh, I know, Barack Obama and Joe Biden. That's what they promised it. They were promised something. They're always looking for a handout. Just like illegal migrants are promised a debit card in a hotel room, courtesy of the liberals in America and our taxpayer dollars. This is how they're being educated. They're taught to believe and trust that they're entitled to a high-paying job just because they decided to take out a massive loan that the government told them that they would give them to pay off a ridiculously high tuition at an elite university that is partially funded, by the way, by Hamas and George Soros, so they can study religion in the 1200s and terrorize Jewish students by blocking off entrances to buildings on campuses. Congratulations, you're a terrorist supporter and a Marxist hater of free markets and democracy. Now here's a house and a 6-figure salary. Thank you, Barack Obama. Thank you, Joe Biden. That's what they think. Because last I checked, this is the land of opportunity, not of guarantees. And that same entitlement is why every single person who benefited from years of unchecked gifts from the likes of USAID, USAID, or slithered their way through the system unchecked, just quietly reap the benefits of our tax dollars and growing deficit, feel entitled to stop or even kill the people responsible for finally putting an end to the bottomless pot of gold at the end of the progressive rainbow. Enough is enough. Speaking of delusion, apparently the UK is moving ahead with that plan to blot out the sun to stop climate change. Yep, I said that right. What in the fresh hell is this nonsense? These people haven't wrecked the earth enough with their stupid climate change lies and Green Deal spending and carbon tax BS. Now they're working to dim the sun because, I don't know, that oligarch Bill Gates thinks it's a grand old idea to try and run Mother Nature himself.
Meanwhile, Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
If AOC is so worried about the oligarchy and climate change, right there should be her prime target, right exactly there. Bill Gates messing with Mother Nature. I'm not joking. This is real. I wish this weren't a joke. This is now how illusional the left really is, that they're going to stop the sun. You know, the thing that allows the human race to survive and live on planet Earth in order to help solve the problem they completely fabricated, made up out of thin air. How about cutting down on flights with Democrat lawmakers heading down to El Salvador to bring a wife-abusing, illegal invader, gangbanger back to America? That should help a little bit with your climate change nonsense fund, no? Or maybe they should cut down on some of the oligarchy tour private flights. Oh, and maybe some of the lady astronaut tours into space. Did I say space? I meant into the sky a little bit. Maybe shave down those and stop trying to cover the sun. You absolute progressive lunatics. We'll be back with Stephen K. Bannon in 2.5 minutes. I think he's got a buddy with him. North Carolina, beautiful, beautiful North Carolina. What a wonderful state. Just amazing. Not too warm, not too cold. Always just a beautiful place. All right, you know, I always say this is my favorite part of the day. Not just my favorite part of the show. My favorite part of the day. I get up in the morning, have coffee with my wife, we talk. I watch some CNBC, I see what's going on in markets and things like that. But my favorite, when we put the show together all day, my favorite part of the day was when I bring in Mr. Stephen K. Bannon. You know what? Because I learned something every day. I learned yesterday, Steve. We learned that the Rumble chat is the tougher of the chats, and they do hold you accountable. Let's put it that way. Can we just roll the videotape of this? They're going to tell me Mad Dog just told me they don't have it yet, so he's going to let me know when they have it. But AOC and Bernie Sanders have been on the Kill the Oligarchs tour, and all oligarchs are bad, and I'm sure they're pointing to Trump and Elon Musk and whatnot. But what strikes me is that they're flying around. And by the way, these two knuckleheads are the ones who are the green agenda faces of the green agenda. They're flying around in private jets. Steve, $77,000 she spent. We're showing the video right now. This is AOC getting off a private jet that for 5 hours. They rented it for 5 hours. $77K. That congresswoman makes $174,000 a year before taxes, and she spent $77K on this private jet. Just one stop. Your thoughts?
Well, knowing how tough it is to travel, I don't want to criticize her for doing something I do a lot of. I think she's also using her PAC or whatever, the money she raises on the outside. But it's, to me, Eric, it's not the phoniness of flying a jet. It's the phoniness that the oligarchs they're talking about were created by the Democratic Party and our progressive Democrats. If you think this week, think about what's happening this week in Washington, D.C., the massive trade fight, the tariff fight. President Trump's not backing down from the CCP. Caroline Levitt just on a moment ago saying President Trump is not going to unilaterally pull down any of the tariffs. Also, we have in court, Google in 2 courts, one in Northern Virginia, the other in D.C., 2 federal courts trying to break them up. And you got President Trump's FTC has got Facebook. In addition, President Trump is now out in the open. We're talking about a massive tax cut for the working class across many sectors and a potential tax increase for the wealthy to pay for it. That's populism. That's taken on the oligarchs. What these guys, they never raised taxes on the wealthy. They created the oligarchs in Silicon Valley and never went after them on antitrust. President Trump is going after these guys on antitrust, FTC, FCC. That's what fighting an oligarch is, and the Democrats created. So the phoniness to me is that the oligarchs are their clients, right? And so I think it's, and I watch all their speeches because of the size of the crowds, and they never talk about economic populism. They never talk about immigration. They're open borders. They want, they want the whole world to come here and compete. You never hear Bernie talk about anything meaningful except, federal minimum wage. It's ridiculous, and it's totally phony. Yeah. President Trump's a populist.
Yes, and so is the man I'm talking to. You're the founder. You're like the guru, the godfather of that movement. So Friday we talked about, I got the call from a major magazine who wanted to know, actually it was Monday, I got the major magazine wanted to know if Trump was going to get rid of Hegseth. And I gave him a quote, a very, very strong support of Pete Hegseth and Trump doing what Trump is asking him to do, and he's carrying out the mission perfectly. And no, Pete's going nowhere. And you and I said, well, if they don't print that, we're going to call him. It was the Rolling Stone magazine, and to their credit, not only did they print the quote, they printed it in full, and it was a full paragraph. So we have to give them credit for that at least. So if you want to check it out, check out the Rolling Stone.
Hold it. We got some time. Give me the quote. Give me the quote again, because this is important. Rolling Stone published it. What was the quote?
Yeah. Give me a second. I'll pull it up. Exactly what I'll do. This is live TV, folks. So it's gonna take me a second.
By the way, is the shirt sleeves is the shirt sleeve is the Izod or the polo shirt? Are you coming in a tank top? Are we having a gun show? Is this what it is today? It's the Eric Bolling gun show?
You know, one of your buddies, Chris Cuomo, I was on his podcast yesterday, and he actually has it shorter and tighter than this. I said, Cuomo, I mean, one final question is how many push-ups did you do before the show to get yourself jacked up? How about this? Let me give you I can't find the quote right now. Let me find the quote. Let's see if it's here. Oh, yeah, I got it. Ready? It's pretty evident to Rolling Stone, and they printed it in full. Yep. It's pretty evident that Pete Hegseth is doing the job he was hired to do: eliminate DEI from the department, lean hard into the Middle East, dispel DOD hires who don't display America First DNA. Hegseth likely is getting negative reviews from folks who have an axe to grind against Trump, or the perception that Hegseth came from Fox and not necessarily a career military background. But none of that matters, because knowing Trump as long as I have, I can see the confidence Trump has in Hegseth. Read that. Pete ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And to their credit, they printed it.
Bolling, that aged pretty well, sir.
Yeah. See, Steve, I'm learning. I'll let you take the show and tell Davis he can come. I'd love to have Mike Davis on the show as many times as he's feasibly able. But he's so popular, he goes on other shows. I like to have unique guests on my show. That's all for that day at least.
Yeah. He's not unique. That we'll say.
Well, I mean unique to other shows.
Eric Bolling,
we'll do it. Take it away, Steve. Good to talk to you.
We got to farm him. Okay, Eric Bolling, thanks. Great handoff, sir, and great quote in Rolling Stone, and really impressed that they printed that, because that's pretty hardcore.